We're going to try and do a review today of 2020. I think all of us can agree that 2020 has been a really, really tough year for so many people around the world. None of us was prepared for what was to come, the unseen. We started off 2020, probably many of us looking at 2020 as a year of vision, a year where we're going to see things clearly, but yet started off January and started off February really strong, but then we hit the month of March and then things just came to a standstill. Everything being shut down and services being suspended, and people were affected in many, many ways. And when I think about that as a global pandemic and the way that things were shut down, um, and the daily challenges that people with disabilities have to go through, getting bathed, getting dressed, um, having to stick to certain schedules, all of the daily challenges that they have to go through. But imagine having to go through all of those challenges during a global pandemic. I mean, it was a major, major shock, a major, major challenge for myself personally as an individual who lives with a disability, but also as an individual who runs a disability um, service-oriented organization. We had to really scramble to adjust, both personally as well as professionally, so that we can continue to provide services to the clients that we serve. And so imagine what it was like for the many, many people from around the world who live with disabilities. And so that's what I kind of want to focus on today, kind of focus our topic on. I want to touch on three things. I want to touch on how people with disabilities were affected in 2020 during this pandemic. Also, I want to look at what have we learned from that and how can we move forward, okay? So, how were we affected? Okay, think about this right here. For people who live with disabilities, many of them have compromised immune systems. So the fear of being affected by COVID-19 with a compromised immune system, I mean, I'm sure that it sent panic throughout many people around the world, but especially for people who live with a disability, because it's hard for us to, just cut off all contact with people and be isolated inside of a house because many people with disabilities have to have, home health services to come in and, assist them with their daily needs such as bathing and clothing and feeding, and getting in and out of bed and to their wheelchairs and out of their wheelchairs and to the bed and assisted, with the bathroom and different things of that nature. So just to say, I'm going to cut off all contact, with people, that is a very tough thing for people with disabilities to do. And so the fear of just having home health, aides coming to your home and assisting you with different things, that you're in need of, that was a major, major fear for people with disabilities, that we're going to contact COVID-19, but with a compromised immune system. So imagine that. Also, I've spoken with a lot of individuals who live with disabilities that have had loved ones to pass away. Some of these loved ones have been their parents, their siblings, their caregivers, and they have lost these people, these very, very important people inside of their lives, and now they're, left struggling. Who's going to be my next caregiver? You know, who's going to, where am I going to live now that, you know, I've had a parent to pass away, and my parent was my primary caregiver, and they're now having to be placed inside of a nursing home to be cared for. Their entire lives just have been turned upside down because of this, COVID-19 that has, occurred, this global pandemic. And so I want to hear from you also um, how you have been affected, and I want to comment on that as I go through the list. So please share those things as we go through the list here. So also, the suspension of medical services because our healthcare system is overrun by COVID-19 patients. I mean, a lot of essential services that people with disabilities normally would go to the hospital to get, those things were suspended because our healthcare system was overrun by COVID-19 patients. I mean, just uh, daily things like that, important things that we need, such as, catheterizations, suprapubic catheters being changed out, just um, important checkups on our kidneys, and and other essential things, healthcare things that we needed that was simply suspended, and because of our healthcare system being overrun by COVID-19, and that's a very tough thing for people with disabilities, to deal with. Also, unable to obtain much needed services because of the statewide shutdown. I mean, my organization, had to, close down for about 90 days. And I had so many people, calling and asking, Lorenzo, when are you going to open back up? I mean, there are certain services that I need, and it was just so hard to have, you know, to say, no, we can't open back up. We can't provide those services right now. And they lost those services because of the statewide shutdown. And there were so many other organizations, around the world that provide services, to people with disabilities, and also here locally that provide services to people with disabilities. And they also have had to suspend their services because of the statewide shutdown. And many people, were not able to go and get those needs that they normally get from organizations because of this statewide shutdown. Okay, so let me read this comment and say, my family member has been affected with her direct support caregivers needing to quarantine if they came in contact with someone who had COVID-19, which has made us need to hire new caregivers to support her, and she doesn't like changes in her schedule or people around her. You see that? So there's one person right there sharing how they had a family member that needed direct support from caregivers, but the caregiver had to quarantine, and couldn't come in contact with someone because of COVID-19. And that's a real hard thing. That's a real difficult thing to have to figure out, because caregivers are very, very essential to people with disabilities. And so that was tough. Thanks for sharing that. Some others, if you have some other that you want to share, please share. We want to hear how you were affected also during this pandemic. So let's talk about people who had like developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities who were dependent upon, adult daycares, centers to, care for them while their family members went to work. Those services were lost. They were no longer able to go to these organizations for their care during the day while their parents or caregivers or family members or loved ones worked. And that placed not only that individual with a disability in a very challenging situation, but also it placed their loved ones and their family members in a very challenging situation as well. Because many of them were dependent upon, those adult daycare centers, providing that service because they didn't have others that could step in and care for, that family member that had a disability while they went out to work. And so that was a very, very challenging situation. And so also the loss of transportation services and also home health services. I mean, think about that. When you are dependent upon, the public transportation system to get you back and forth um, to work or to the doctor or wherever you need to go, to grocery store, and now those services have been suspended, because of COVID-19. That's very, very challenging for someone who lives with a disability and is dependent upon, the public transportation system to get, them back and forth, to where they need to go to get their essential needs. Yes, the grocery stores and those businesses that were considered essential were still open, but if you were an individual with a disability and your primary source of transportation has been suspended, how are you going to get to the store to get what you need? You know, groceries and sanitizing, sanitizers, cleaning equipment to sanitize your home and different things like that. You have lost your primary source of transportation. So that was a very challenging thing for people with disabilities. Also, home health care services. It goes back to the comment that was just placed there. Many people could not allow their home health care agents to come in and assist them with what they need because many of the home health care, agents were affected by COVID-19. And so it just left people in a real challenging situation. So I want to hear from you about some things, some challenges that you have went through, or some people that who have been experiencing some personal challenges as well as a result of COVID-19. I'll give you a little time to comment before I move on to the next topic there. So what have we learned? What have we learned from all of this that we have experienced in 2020 with the COVID-19 and this global pandemic? I think a certain couple points I want to make. First of all, I think that we all must be prepared for the unexpected. We learned that we all must be prepared for the unexpected. Yes, we think about the unexpected all the time, and we may, we know that there's a possibility that, things are going to happen, but taking the steps to get prepared for it is something that we don't always do. So we learned that we have to be prepared for the unexpected. So what are some ways that we can be prepared for the unexpected? I think number one, right now you can begin building reserves in your savings account. If you are blessed with the ability to continue to maintain a job, you have some extra income coming in, start putting aside, some money to the side where you have reserves in a savings account in the event that something like this was to happen again. You're preparing yourself for the unexpected so that you can have some income to continue, paying your bills and, getting, the necessities that you need, food and medical supplies and equipment and different things like that, so that you won't be caught off guard the next time something like this happens. And that goes for, individuals as well as organizations. Start building reserves so that you are prepared in the event that something like this was to occur again. What's another point? Have an emergency plan in place. Right now, this is a perfect time to review your emergency plan, both personally as well as organizations that provide services to individuals with disabilities. What will be our plan in the event that something like this was to occur again? So you start thinking about, well, the services, the adult daycare services were suspended, and we were no longer able to, take our loved one with a disability to that service. So in the event that something like that was to occur again, you want to have an emergency plan in place to say, okay, who and how can we get this person cared for in the event that something like that, occurs again? If in my case, I was blessed, to have, some family members, a wife and everything home that could assist me with some daily things that I needed. But if there were a person who needed, more hands-on, care, such as a bath or putting your clothes on and assisting you with, going to the bathroom and different things like that, you want to think about all of those things. Have your emergency plan in place. Okay, how and who, will provide me with those things in the event that something like this was to happen again. So you want to have an emergency plan in place. Okay, lastly, God forbid that we never have to, go through anything like this again. But in the event that it was to happen again, you want to start stocking up, on personal protection equipment, masks and, things of that nature, gloves, things of that nature. Um, Gloves are very, very, an essential item, especially for people with disabilities. We use them all the time. And it was very hard to get things like gloves during the pandemic. And so stocking up on things that you need, your medical equipment, your supplies, so you make sure that you got, at least 3 to 4 months worth of those things, underpads and, suppositories, catheters, um, all of those things that that you may need in order to continue to, have, some type of normalcy to your life. Start stocking up on those things um, uh, right now. So, yeah, I just saw a comment, that say gloves have been hard to come by. Yes, they have. It was very difficult to get those things. And me personally, when I had an opportunity, to get some, I ordered, way more than what I needed, because I can always, store these things away for in the event that something like this was to happen again. So start stocking up on PPE. Also, stock up on sanitizer as well. Right now, when you go to the stores, you see that the shelves are full of sanitizer. Go ahead and get, as much as you feel you will need, start stocking up on that as well. Get your alcohol and different things like that. Also, we can, now get some type of disinfectant cleaning supplies. Start getting those things as you see them on the shelf and, stocking up on those things as well. Now, I think it's still really hard to come by Lysol right now. But I mean, if you see that, go ahead and buy that too and put it away. Don't just go back into the mindset and assume that, it's there now, it's going to always be there. That's not true. we got to learn from, what we have seen in the past, and what we saw was that stores were unable to get these things, and people were without those things. So, it would be wise to start stocking up on those things, right now, while they are available. So, how do we move forward? How do we move forward? Okay. Uh, Before I go to that point, let me back up just a little bit. Let me back up just a little bit. I want to make one more point on what have we learned. I think we also learned that we have to embrace change. We have to embrace change. As a person who leads an organization, you know, there were a lot of changes that we had to make in order to continue to provide services, to individuals with disabilities. A lot of our services had to go virtual so that we could reach people the best way that we can on a virtual platform, but also what we found out was that a lot of individuals did not have, computers so that they could do virtual. And so what we did, one of the things that we did is we started what we call a loan closet, a computer loan closet, where, we got some laptops and, together, where we began to loan these laptops out to individuals with disabilities so that they can, engage virtually with us, so that we can provide them with services as best that we could virtually. Also, with our employment services, you know, um, before the pandemic, we never really pursued work from home opportunities for our, employment participants, those who were pursuing employment, because there was just so many, things involved with working from home. We really didn't want to put anybody in a position where, they possibly would get scammed or anything like that. So we just really didn't even touch it. But during the pandemic, many people were like, "Well, I really don't want to work out in the public." They, just fear, being out there and being in contact with people because of COVID-19, and we really understood that. So we had to embrace change, and so we began to look for, legitimate work from home opportunities. We searched around. We called the HR department of that company. We made sure that it was legit. We went on the Better Business Bureau website and, and researched this company before, we applied for the job for the individual to work from home. And we found several, legitimate work from home opportunities for people. And we started pursuing, those opportunities. And as we embrace that change, I can say now that we literally place 100% of our employment participants into, competitive employment, where they can still earn a paycheck even during this pandemic. And that would have not been something that we would have been able to do, had we not embraced that change. But also to the participants, who wanted to be employed. Many of them did not want to work from home, and we had to convince them that this is something that, they had to embrace. And many of them did not want to work the type of job that was available for them to work from home. And we had to convince them that this is something that you have to embrace. This is where we are, and you have to work with what you got. And so if they had not embraced that change, they wouldn't be employed now, bringing in, a paycheck right now. So, but that's just, thank you so much, Erica Ginger. I really appreciate you sharing that wonderful comment there. Thank you so much. And so, but yeah, we have to embrace change. And so, but how do we embrace change? How do we embrace change? I want to share 2 points with you. We embrace change by, number one, you got to stop complaining and adjust. You got to stop complaining and adjust. I don't care how much you complain, it's never going to make things better. Complaining is not going to stop the pandemic from happening. Complaining is not going to stop you from living with a disability. Complaining is not going to change anything. You have to adjust. You have to adjust, and you have to start making the best of the situation that you're in. That's how you're going to see change, by you adjusting and saying, okay, it is what it is. Now I have to do what I have to do so that I can be the best that I can be, and so that I can make my situation better. So Elijah, Elijah said, I would love to work from home. Elijah, 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 share more with us about you, and and we would love to see how we can assist you with doing that. Okay, also, how do you embrace change? Point number two, you take advantage of opportunities to learn and grow. You take advantage of opportunities to learn and grow. Yes, we was just placed, boom, all of us hit right in the face with this pandemic. But also, in the midst of it, there were opportunities for us to learn and grow. Every time a tragedy happens, yes, there's always opportunities to learn and grow from tragedies. Always, always. But you got to look for it. You always gonna find what you're looking for. That's just the bottom line about it. If you're looking for ways not to come out of it, not to learn from it, not to grow from it, then you're not gonna grow. You're not gonna learn. But if you start looking at ways, okay, how can I be better despite this? What can I learn from this? How can I get wiser from this particular situation that is occurring? Eventually, it's almost like a light bulb is going to start going off in your head. It's almost like your eyes are going to start opening and seeing things that you never saw before. Like, I probably would have never developed a loan closet, a computer loan closet, to loan to people so that they can work from home and engage with us virtually, had it not been for this pandemic. I would have never began to research legitimate work from home opportunities had it not been for this pandemic. Those were opportunities for us to learn and grow as an organization, but also as an individual as well. And it worked. It worked. So you have to look for opportunities that you can learn and grow. That's how you embrace change, okay? So now I want to move on to the last point there. So how do we move forward? How do we move forward? A lot has happened, during this pandemic. A lot has happened. People have, lost loved ones. People have, being furloughed, from their jobs, and, lost their homes and lost their vehicles, and, it has been a lot. It has been a lot. And it's nothing, to downplay. And my heart, as well as my prayers, my thoughts, goes out to all the people, around the world who have been affected by this pandemic. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, my wife got furloughed from her job, so we had to adjust, so we were personally touched by it. So we know the struggles, we know the issues. My organization, for 3 months, it looked bleak. Were we ever going to be able to open doors up again and provide services again? I mean, it was tough, and so my heart really goes out. But I want to talk about how we can move forward. I want to talk about how we can move forward. So I'm looking at another comment. It said, do you think things will go back to normal once everyone gets a vaccine? Well, I don't think life will never be just normal again. I think we'll have what we call the new normal, because I don't know if the vaccine will just completely, eradicate COVID-19. I think it'll bring it under control, somewhat, but it's just kind of my personal opinion. Um, I'm not a, physician or, an expert on that subject, but, you know, but I think that we'll just have what we call a new normal, and we have to adjust to that new normal, and move forward the best that we can. Yeah. So I have another comment there. Say, Pam says, Pam. Normal after a vaccine will be whatever the present moment. Past normal left us vulnerable. We need to be flexible. Exactly. That's the exact point that I am making, Pam. We got to be flexible. We got to adjust to whatever the situation that we're faced with brings us at the time. Okay, so let's move on though. So how do we move forward? How do we move forward after having experienced such a tragedy? I want to touch on 3 points. Point number one, we move forward by having a positive outlook. You have to have a positive outlook. Yes, to me personally, been affected by this pandemic, and it's bleak. It's more than enough, to make everybody have a negative outlook, and just be like, oh, things are never going to, be good again, be better again. Yes, it's more than enough for everybody to have a negative outlook. But you have to have a positive outlook. If you lost your job, you got furloughed from your job, you know what? Your outlook should be, well, I'll get another one. If you lost your business or whatever, your outlook have to be, well, you know what? I'll start again, and when the time is right. If you lost a loved one, I still don't understand why certain things have to happen, but your outlook have to be, you know what? God is still in this, and I'll see him again someday. And the next time I see him, it will be no more sickness. It will be no more pain. It will be no more sorrow. You have to have a positive outlook. Yet nothing is going to change if you got a glass half empty mentality. You got to have a glass half full mentality. That's how you're going to move forward. So I got another comment and say, disabled community has been pushed in the shadows more now because of COVID needs. We need to be organized and support one another more than others. So true. Erica Price Gentry said, positive thoughts. Yes, thumbs up. That's true. Thumbs up back to you, Erica. So true. So secondly, how do we move forward? Number two, by being persistent. You have to be persistent. Yes, we are going to continually face challenges. People with disabilities, you're going to have to face challenges anyway. You faced challenges before COVID-19 occurred. You're going to have to face it during COVID-19. And if the day comes that COVID-19 is never here, you're still going to have to face some challenges. You got to be persistent. You got to say, you know what, where there's a will, there's a way. You got to be like the little engine that could, and you got to keep on saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And you just got to be persistent, be persistent, be persistent, be persistent. Just kind of have that bulldog type tenacity that I'm not going to let go until I accomplish what I came to accomplish. I saw a picture one time, and it had a picture of this huge mountain, and it had this little bitty body of water just kind of bouncing up against the mountain. And then on the other side, it had a hole cut through the mountain where the water was running through it. And it said that the water is not stronger than the mountain. The water just is more persistent. That's how it was able to cut a hole through the mountain. And I was like, wow, that's so true. That's so true. You may not be stronger than the challenge that is before you. But if you're more persistent than the challenge that is before you, you're going to be able to cut a hole right through it. Where there's a will, there's a way. So lastly, we move forward by forgetting that which is behind, and we look forward to that which is ahead. Yeah, it happened. It was hard. It was hard. It happened. It was hard. Yeah, you lost some loved ones. It was hard. You lost that job, that career. You lost a home. You lost your vehicle. You experienced some very tragic things. But you can't live in the past. You got to forget about those things which are behind. And you got to look forward to those things which are ahead. I'm telling you right now, I don't care how long that tunnel is. There is light always at the end of that tunnel. I don't care how long that tunnel is. There is light always at the end of that tunnel. Forget those things which lie behind and look forward to those things which are ahead. That's how we move forward. So, I got a question here. Have you talked to your doctor about when you can get the vaccine? No, me personally, I haven't spoken with my doctor about when I can get the vaccine. And so I don't know if anybody else has. If somebody else has, you can comment there, and we would love to know if you have. And so, but I want to thank you all so much for getting on today and listening to this. I would also encourage you to, share this, with others, share it on pages that you are a part of, and just kind of, help spread this message today. I think it's a very, very important topic, and a topic that can be very encouraging to someone else. So we're going to bring things to a close today. I want to thank Alexander Bime and Alabama Care for giving me the opportunity to go live with you all today. And we're going to go live again next month, second Monday of January, with a new topic that can enhance the quality of life for individuals with disability. So thank you all so much for getting on today. I am Lorenzo Brown, and you can learn more about me and my organization at isable.org. That's isable.org. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.